Hello, everybody, and welcome to the White Hatter YouTube News Show. I'm Brandon,
You know what that's from?
and that's Darren.
That's Bob and Doug McKenzie. You're probably too young. Anyways, hey everybody, I'm Darren. That was the Bob and Doug McKenzie theme for their show, The Great White North. Anyways,
let's get into.
Guess who just did a presentation?
Did you do a presentation?
Yeah, can you tell?
Yes.
I got another one too, right after this.
Yes, you do.
I booked myself double.
I know, right?
Oh my god!
So let's get.
Now I know what you feel like.
I know.
I wonder if I can interrupt you again.
Let's get into the news, shall we?
Let's do it. In the news.
First topic today in the news involves Instagram.
Oh.
Instagram announced back on April 21st on how they're introducing new tools to protect their community from abuse.
What are those tools?
Tools are, number one, allowing people to opt into a feature,
Yep.
so you can automatically filter direct messages coming into you.
Ooh.
Requests that include harassment, racist, sexist, and just offensive language, emojis, and other things.
That'll be interesting to see how that works, right?
It'll be interesting to see how that works. So at least that is an ability to, especially if someone who has a decent amount of following, you can get some messages that may not be all that savory because you want to engage with your audience.
Savory. Good word.
Yeah.
Good word.
And then there's a second tool where they are adding features when you block someone, they're going to have some artificial intelligence system to help block any new account that person may make. Now, is that going to be successful? In our opinion, probably not.
It'll be interesting.
But I'm sure it'll do something.
Yeah, it's about time, right? When you think about it, I mean, better late than never. But I mean, it's about time that they were able to bring this kind of stuff in, right? And it's all because of new AI technology and how quickly it's changing and doing stuff. So I think this is another added benefit. But you were saying before we went on air that, well, a little late now that IG's dying. What do you mean by that?
Instagram's a dying platform.
Yeah, you said it's like a dying platform. Why is it a dying platform?
There's other platforms out there that are doing better.
Oh, really?
Cough, cough, TikTok.
So, like, what about businesses and that kind of stuff?
Instagram's pay to win now. It's like Facebook.
What do you mean pay to win?
You got to put your ads out there.
Yeah,
if you're a new business starting on Instagram and you have no following, nothing, don't focus on Instagram, focus on TikTok and do that because you're not going to grow anywhere near. I mean, 5 years ago, yeah, sure, you'll be able to grow. But right now, to grow on Instagram, users dropping off, going to TikTok. Instagram's not offering nothing extra.
Well, it shouldn't surprise us pay to win because we're owned by
Facebook,
which is pay to win, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's very interesting. I mean, having said that, I mean, Facebook, we've used paid ads for specific targeted reasons as a business, but I mean, it's interesting because I still see a lot. I'm on Instagram, and I still see a lot of people advertising use Instagram to increase business revenue and all that kind of stuff. And I'm thinking, really? Like after what you're saying right now, did you eat garlic last night?
Focus on TikTok.
Did you have garlic last night?
Like at 6 o'clock.
Like if I was a vampire, I don't think I'd bite you right now.
Oh,
like holy crow.
Okay.
Anyways, it smells good though. I love it. But if I just brain farted myself. I know. But Instagram from a business standpoint, right? Where I was saying like you go on Instagram right now and there's still tons of people advertising. Hire us because we can use IG to increase your business revenue and stuff, right?
Yeah, I guess it really depends on your audience, but I mean honestly, I think you're better off using YouTube and TikTok.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. Like everything's going visual now, right? Yeah. And when I say visual, I mean video visual, right? The other big thing I'm seeing too is a real increase in podcasting. Like that seems to be big. Like it's gaining lots of traction right now. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean Spotify and Apple have announced their subscriber plans, so podcast creators can create premium podcast subscriptions, which naturally Apple and Spotify will take a cut off. But I mean, at least it allows podcast creators to have another source of revenue. Instead of going out and looking for affiliate links or advertising directly, you can just put a paywall on the podcast itself and you can get money that way. So yes, podcasting still useful. I do think videos are going to I believe they are overtaking podcasting. If you can provide the entry of making a podcast is far lower than say making something on YouTube.
Yes.
Right. All you need is a microphone, a recorder, you're good to go. You have a pod. There's more to that, but yes, basically you could get that going.
I agree.
For something visual, there has to be other things and extra labor involved in that.
Yeah, and if you're going to do something visual like video, you got to do it right because there's higher expectations now, right?
There
That's one of the things that you've shared with me.
Especially looking at places like, say, YouTube, for example. You're competing against some really massive competitors who have teams of people who market for them. So it's a tough market to be in, but if you know what you're doing, you can kind of get there.
Yeah, for sure. It's just, for those adults that are watching that are starting out businesses new, just be careful when it comes to using social media, that you don't get sucked into spending lots of money on maybe some platforms where your return on investment may not necessarily be what a lot of people are promising you it's going to be.
The old, and I still think it's true advice, is you should focus on three. Is where, as a single business owner running your own social media, you kind of maybe want to focus on 3 platforms.
Okay.
In order to maximize your time. And I think at this point in time, I think you're probably looking at, depending on your audience, I think if you're able to, YouTube, TikTok, if you're looking for a younger audience.
Right.
And then the third one would be your choice.
Right.
Whatever one you're most comfortable with.
I mean, we're kind of Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Those are kind of our 3, right?
Yeah, I mean, Twitter's more of a PR announcement type thing. It's not as if we use Twitter per se to engage with audiences. Yeah. It's more of a PR, here's an announcement, here's what's going on in our team.
I love using Twitter as a way to research and stay current from other researchers who are looking at areas that are of interest to us.
Yeah,
that's how I use Twitter.
The academic research community does use Twitter quite a lot. Yeah. So again, it does depend on who your audience is. Mm-hmm. But generally, if you're looking for the biggest consumer base right now, which is millennials, which have the most, I don't want to say buying power because they don't have the money, but in terms of number of consumers,
as boomers do,
number of consumers who make choices on what to buy every day, millennials are the generation right now who have that power.
Gotcha.
So, you want to target that audience because they're the ones coming first-time parents. They're the ones not buying first-time houses, renting.
They can't afford. Interesting article I read on the weekend by a couple of big financiers here in Canada talking about that very issue, how your generation is being pushed out of the market. Like, the average house price in Canada this time last year was $544,000. This year, it's $744,000. It's like...
Wasn't there an article, wasn't it in Wall Street Journal or Forbes or something I saw last week where people were talking about millennials aren't having children and it's bad for the economy?
That too.
Because...
Or what's happening is it's good for the boomer generation because housing prices have gone up significantly, where it's created like a huge plus for the boomer generation, my generation. So now the big thing is that the boomer generation is now taking money out of the equity in their homes and giving it to the young people in order to buy their first homes.
Not all.
Yeah, I know, but that then is now only benefiting the banks. It's not benefiting the boomer or the millennial G. It's unbelievable what's going on, but that's a whole different topic. But how do we get off on that tangent?
I don't know.
That's quite
Welcome to the White Hat YouTube News Show. We go one way, we go the other way. We talk about economics, and we're just here. All right.
What's next topic?
Next topic is Airdrop.
I love Airdrop.
However, there was a flaw. And
what?
Yeah. So Airdrop.
Apples don't have flaws.
So attackers are able to learn phone numbers and email addresses for people who have their Airdrop on.
Please tell me they fixed this.
Well, that's the interesting thing here. As of today, which is Monday when we're recording this, I haven't yet seen any information. Now, the researchers who found this issue, they informed Apple of it back in 2019. And
that's like 2 years ago.
I know, right?
And Apple hasn't fixed it?
Apple's usually pretty good at fixing issues when and so the question is why. And the researchers at the time actually made their own alternative fixed AirDrop. They called it Private Drop. And they proposed it, and they still haven't heard anything from Apple. And I still haven't heard anything from Apple. So that's interesting, because Apple's usually pretty fast at fixing things within a couple days of a flaw being announced. So, I mean, again, to be a victim of this, you need to have, the attacker has to have some knowledge, tools, and expertise in order to carry it out. Right. So again, the probability of it happening to you with your phone number and email being leaked by walking by someone on the street, sucking your AirDrop data, unlikely, but the fact is that still is a flaw, and recommended to make sure maybe you turn off AirDrop until such time that you are that you're intentionally waiting for something to be dropped to you.
Gotcha.
Which is generally good security. I mean, I remember all the
times. I love using AirDrop.
I remember all the times we're traveling when we used to travel on planes. Yes. We go, I wonder whose AirDrop is on. We just go flash up and go, oh, all these passengers on the
And
plane,
there were-
50,000 feet in the air. It's like, oh, your airdrop's on.
There was a couple times where we thought about sending them something
No.
too, but we didn't.
No,
We didn't.
but it's so I mean, best recommendation for things like this is turn off anyways.
Come on, Apple, if you're watching, please fix that. Right?
Yeah.
Fix it. It's a flaw. It's a vulnerability. Fix it.
Yeah.
Like you said, Brandon, likelihood of you being victimized from it extremely low, but still a flaw. It's being identified, so fix it.
Yeah.
Pretty simple. Next one.
Next one is ransomware.
Yeah, I read this one.
Report from Sophos State of Ransomware 2021 report has stated in the survey about 92. It's the other way around.
How did you get 62? I guess if you turn upside down, that becomes a 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. 92% of organizations who pay ransomware to get their data back don't actually get their data back.
I mean, one of the things and this is problematic, right? Because when you get hit with this stuff, if you're a small business and your business, the way you operate is contained within what is being attacked, and you know that the only way you can continue with your business is to get it, there's such an inkling to pay the money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it really is, because you won't exist unless you get that data back, right? So but 92% of the time you pay it, you're not. Now, really, should that surprise us? Because I just about said a bad word. They're criminals, for crying out loud, right? And like, should you trust a criminal?
Thank you for making my job easier not to edit.
Right? Like when you think about this, right? So, we've helped a couple of companies who contacted us, and when it's bigger, we have another person that we send them to, who kind of specializes in helping to recover when it comes to ransomware. But we recommend don't pay, right? Just don't pay. But I can understand how you want to pay, because you're under such a panicked pressure that your company's being shut down. And the only way I can operate is to get this stuff back up again. So interesting. But again, how can you trust a criminal? You can't. So prevention is way more cost effective than the cure, which is trying to get the stuff back, right? So I mean, paying the money up front as a small business to protect yourself from this, it's going to cost you some money up front, but it's going to save you all kinds of headaches if all of a sudden, right? So, and my fear is that this criminal element is going after the low-hanging fruit now, right? They're not going after the big businesses anymore, because they know that most of them are pretty sandboxed in protecting themselves from this stuff. They're going after the mom and pop type of
except the I think it was Garmin and then Apple as well. There were a couple of cases where big companies did have a problem, and then the ransom was $10 million or something.
For sure, but they were going after hospitals, right? Big time, and school districts now, and municipalities now. But now they're paying money to protect themselves, so now they're going after small businesses, right? So just something to think about.
On the same ransomware train of thought, QNAP again in the news, talking about an exploit found in their QNAP.
What's QNAP?
They are an external data storage device. So instead of storing your data in the cloud, you can store your data on a system that you own and control.
We own one, but we're not going to say what company. But we have such a product.
Yeah,
not this one.
Not QNAP.
No,
we use a different.
We use a different. Yeah, we use a different.
So QNAP's definitely more focused on like consumer type things, in my opinion. But so if you're using such a system to store your videos, documents, and pictures, companies just suggesting make sure that you increase your security up to date, all that stuff. Not the first time QNAP's been in the news talking about problems, so it would suck for your backup to have ransomware on.
I actually read that article this weekend, and the different places were talking about this, and a lot of them are now saying that a lot of the cloud stuff that is out there, it's probably the better way to go, because it's so well protected now, right? So, but there's still a hesitancy about uploading some stuff into a cloud.
Well, it's also price to performance, because for the cloud, it's usually a subscription based. Yeah. So, for example, like on our disk stations that we use to store our data, I mean, we have terabytes of data on there, and if you are using an online service, you're paying maybe $100 monthly. Yeah. So if we were to do that, we would be paying more money in the long run. So there is a cost benefit here as well. Yeah. Plus a privacy benefit, because then you're not storing your data. If you're storing client information in a cloud somewhere that's outside your country, well, that could be a problem. And because we do a lot of work with schools and that kind of stuff, from a privacy standpoint, we wanted to house it ourselves. We didn't want to upload it anywhere, because again, it just
adds to the privacy component.
Yeah. Plus,
So if you have a QNAP, update. Don't they usually send out automatic updates, you would think, right?
Yeah, sometimes. It depends on how you set it up, and some programs do or don't.
Yeah. There you go.
And the last article today.
This is a good one. This is a good one to end on.
So an individual arrested for putting fake QR codes on QR code check-in signs in Australia. So this is an interesting one, and we're seeing more.
So what's a QR code? For those people who aren't watching, what is a QR code?
QR code is that thing down below. It looks like a barcode, but it's like a square.
Right.
And your camera
looks like a multi-checkered board.
Precisely. And you take your phone camera, you scan it, and it basically works like a scanner, but it can take you to a website, can download some contact information for you, can phone someone. There's a lot of really cool things it can do to be in contact with.
But there's huge vulnerabilities. So what happened on this one?
So this individual, who was an anti-vaccination supporter, they
hate them.
They printed off some QR codes, and then they're walking into these check-in spots for people to get vaccinated. And you take your phone and scan and get checked in. They were taking these QR codes, and instead of it putting on top of these official codes, people would scan it and take them to an anti-vaccination website.
Brilliant when you think about it. From a counterintelligence standpoint, I mean, brilliant when you think about it, right? Look at, if you're anti something, look for the pro something, and then put your own QR code over theirs to take them to your site.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw this happening here in Victoria where competitive realtors, like realty signs, they were big. They were putting QR codes, like you scan it, well, other realtors were now putting their own QR code over those realtors, so it take them to their sites, right? I mean, and we had a couple where people were using them to you scan it and take you to a porn site, right? And we did a little bit of a thing at a social media camp. Remember that one? Where what we did was we to prove. Here we are at a social media camp where privacy is supposed to be a big thing, and what we did was we strategically placed QR codes throughout the entire venue. Like, it was a big venue, right? And we were putting QR codes up, and just to see if people would scan them, and it was amazing how many people scanned them. And then you had a message that came up with crossbones on it that basically said, hey, just to let you know, we've captured your IP address and some other data, blah blah blah, just to prove a point, right?
Yeah, so that was an interesting.
So what was one of his? He had some orders on his probation, right?
So Australia charge found. Apparently, according to the article, in Australia, anyone found tampering with COVID-19 QR codes faced arrest or penalty up to $10,000, which is interesting. I mean, I wonder if that applies in Australia to any other QR codes. Like, if, like you were saying, a realtor putting a QR code on a competitor realtor sign that's out in public, you just put a little.
Okay, I know you're going to hate this, but I think it would fall under public mischief. I know you hate that.
I hate it when you say mischief.
I know, because it's
the catch-all.
It's a catch-all. But I actually think that there's a couple of sections under the new code. I'd have to look specifically with the manipulation of data.
But you're not manipulating data.
Well, I think you might be, arguably.
But you're literally not manipulating the original code. You're just putting a mask on it. You're not manipulating it.
I'd have to look. There's a couple of sections on the criminal code that new section that came out in the past couple of years here in Canada that may just cover that. I don't know. I'd have to look closer.
That's interesting. So the reason why I added this to the show today is they're out on bail, and the reason bail, and the condition of the bail is they're not allowed to carry loose QR code labels until such time they have their court appearance.
What happens if I have a rubber stamp then?
It's not a loose QR code. It's
I know.
a rubber stamp.
Right.
I just think it's funny on how the condition is they can't carry loose QR codes in their pocket, because I don't know.
The other danger of QR codes is that it could take you to a malicious site.
Could be, but chances of that happening in terms of drive-by downloads right now, where you go to a bad website and just puts bad code on you or computer, actually unlikely going to happen nowadays. There's a lot of good security practices in place on all our devices that prevent that type of stuff. It's only if you are intentionally downloading something from a bad website will it really. I mean, it's the internet.
But it could take you to a phishing site, though.
Could take you to a phishing site. It says, hey, I mean, if you're thinking this out, the person could, for example, put a fake QR code, take them to what appears to be a real-looking government login page. Sign into your vaccination, put your username and password for your government account here, and then they capture that and use that if they want to be malicious hacker in that perspective.
Yeah, it's pretty funny when we've been talking about some of the vulnerabilities of QR codes and how they could be used in mischievous ways. And here's a really good example of it. I hate these anti-vaxxers, right? Like the anti-vaxxers, they're the ones that are going to stop the herd immunity from like just these people are just out the. Anyways, I don't want to get into it.
All right.
Get your shot. Hey, can I ask you a question? I'm just going to use our back camera here. You know, there's all these changes. Here's our studio lights, and you got like these camouflage things on the lights. What's that do?
Those direct the light. So they're grids. So light when you like a flashlight, for example, when you turn a flashlight, the light kind of goes out in a cone shape. Right. What the grids do is they kind of hone in the light more specifically. So it kind of focuses in one.
It's kind of like when you have these lights and you can turn the bezel and it makes the beam go wide, or you can do it. You can make it. So what this does is it takes the light and creates more of a centralized beam.
Yeah, they're not a perfect solution, but they definitely do help a bit in the studio. So it focuses light more on us rather than the background.
Yeah, we got a lot of changes coming. I'm not going to give them out here, but I mean, I'm looking at one of the pieces of equipment that you bought. We're not going to say what it is.
No, I got to do some fixing.
We're going to do some stuff on it. But you were using it over the past couple of sessions that you've done, and it's really cool.
Yeah, it
really,
is.
really cool. And I just love how things are kind of moving and what we're doing here. So it's just kind of cool. So. Yeah. You just don't have the time.
Yeah,
we're so busy.
So we're doing upgrades in the middle of doing back-to-back programs.
I know.
So I mean, we don't have office hours right now, so it's not as if I can spend a day just to do the upgrades. I just
counted since January. We've done 139 presentations, and between now and the end of June, we've got another 72 now. It was 70, but I just booked another 2. This 72 presentations between now and the end of June.
Yeah, so upgrades will happen when we get the time in between programs to do the updates.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. I mean, and I think the reason why we're getting so busy is because, not just because of the quality of the program content and how we deliver it, but we talked about it at the very beginning. It's how we're delivering it, right? Using the platform, the video, you know, and all that kind of stuff, because it's designed to hold attention. It's like you say, what we do is not a Zoom event. It's not a Teams event.
No.
You know, people are getting bored of that. There's nothing worse than watching a presenter sitting behind a webcam or talking, you know, like especially when you're dealing with kids and teens, they just kind of drop off, but so do adults. But it's kind of really cool to see what we're doing and how, I mean, another cool shot. I can't wait to use this one. I'm going to show this one. Check this out, our downward camera. So when we're doing demonstrations on our laptops and that kind of stuff, we can do that. I mean, the back camera shot, that is really cool, right? I mean, those are 2 16-inch monitors. How many screens do we got in here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We got like 8 different screens. I mean, it's really cool. On this looks like CNN or CTV News Studio. That's basically what you've created. Right, and how you've MacGyvered everything together, which is kind of cool. So yeah, we got another 72.
All righty,
72. In fact, I got another one I'm doing in 40 minutes.
All righty. Well,
so on that note, I'm Darren.
I'm Brandon. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we'll see you again next week. Bye, everybody.